The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
I've had to make some hard decisions in the last couple of days, one of which was to push the button on Monolith as an Intel machine. With the problems I've had with the motherboard in Tuxedo, I've finally had enough. So I pushed the button to have Monolith be powered by an Intel Core i7 6700K. The interesting part is, you hear all this talk about how Intel is so expensive, but when I compared the cost of the parts that I have on order, motherboard, case, RAM, processor, and then other parts will come from previous and other systems or parts I have lying around, but when you compare what it costs to go, to buy the same parts when I went to the Phenom 2 1090T, it actually costs roughly the same. This is a major upgrade, so to speak, and it gives me a new system in the process. But it costs roughly the same as when I went with this AMD back in 2010. So, it's interesting, you think that Intel's so expensive. No, it's not that Intel's expensive, it's that AMD is cheap. If I was starting over from nothing, I could buy like a DIY super combo for a few hundred and get back into the game that way. But I'm not in that position right now, because this system is my super combo, so to speak, in terms of processing power. The Phenom 2 has held its own very, very well, and I will be keeping the third-party cooling and stuff in there, and I will be keeping this as a backup system, and maybe even a system that can function as a server of sorts with its extra drive slots or extra drive cages later on. But Monolith needs to become a thing. I'm sick of waiting, and the AMD Zen is just too much of a question mark. Matter of fact, AMD itself is too much of a question mark right now, and that's the ultimate issue with AMD. I would love to see AMD claw their way back into contention, but I can't be waiting for the Zen to come out in decent quantities at decent prices when it comes to Monolith. The Monolith dilemma needs to be solved this year, and the only way I can know that for certain is to go all YOLO and put everything together with a Core i7. This could be the very last Intel system that I ever build. That's a very real possibility. If AMD gets back into the ring, so to speak, and they start catering to enthusiast gamers and multimedia type folks, like Intel's trying to broaden their focus away from traditional PCs, it would be very interesting if eventually I was completely on Team Red. But that's going to have to be left for future years. Not necessarily this year, and certainly not the dilemma that I've been in since 2015. When it comes to the AMD Zen, though, one thing that is definitely set in stone is I want my next laptop to be a Zen laptop powered by the Zen mobile APU. It's supposed to, the Zen APU is supposed to have the equivalent of a Polaris RX 460 for the graphics. So I'm curious about the Zen as a system on a chip in laptops. I'm also curious about whether or not laptops, especially non-gaming laptops, stuff like this, like the turd Shiba here, could ever serve as so-called console replacements. Because console replacement computers, I think really at some point laptops are going to displace them with the way that mobile technology is developing. Once laptops can get enough punch to function as a console, then it's all over. You might as well just not bother with a tower until you want something more powerful than a console, because you could just grab a laptop and use the HDMI and use that as your console with USB drives. It's a very real and very distinct possibility, so I will be exploring that next year with the successor to the Turd Shiba if something looks interesting enough that's powered by the Zen mobile APU. Very, very curious about that, especially with AMD's recent successes with systems on a chip and how they've secured all those deals for the console processors and stuff. Newegg, of course, really knows how to run a supply chain, so I got the tracking number for Monolith and all the parts that are coming in. I thought maybe it'd be a weekend project, but no, everything's supposed to be here tomorrow. Well, that's interesting. So anyways, with this yet another pleasant surprise from Newegg, there are some things that now have to happen tonight. Number one, I want my Venturis back! These things are for Monolith! Time to take them out of here, and let's be a little nerdy about this. Let's make a little challenge out of this. Since I'm just removing some fans, let's see if I can hot swap them. Let's see if I can do this with the system still running. I know, famous last words, right? Well, you never know. Bienvenidos, comrade. That made no sense whatsoever. Whatever. Well, anyways, something seems different about the computer now. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I didn't end up passing my challenge, so to speak. I didn't end up succeeding. That was a stupid idea anyways. I went to change out, these are the original Tuxedo-ish fans, the Fractal Silent series. But when I wanted to keep the funnel, because I don't have any use for 120 to 140, 140? I don't have any use for 120 to 140 funnels in Monolith, because it's going to have 140 support straight out of the box. So when I went to switch this for a Silent Series fan, I had a screw pop loose. Lucky for me, it fell into the case. It could have easily landed on the graphics card and shorted that brand new 1060. So, yeah, that was pretty stupid. At that point, I sheepishly shut down the system and did things the normal way, with the power off. But hey, Tuxedo's back to looking a bit more Tuxedo-ish. Although if I end up keeping this outside fan thingy, I should probably get a grill for that fan. It looks stupid and hack job, but the big issue is, though, the fan controller in this machine is going to Monolith, so I don't think I have enough ports on the motherboard for chassis fans for this many of them. So this is probably just a temporary thing. Or I just buy another fan controller. But the thing is, the Cooler Master? What? The Fractal case that the next system is going to have comes with a built-in fan controller, but it's a three-way switch. Not what I want to be adjusting. I want to be able to adjust fans individually. So turn down the intakes, turn up the exhaust, turn up the side fans, things along those lines. So I don't imagine myself really making much use of that three-fan fan controller. Although, long day, man, long day. I am going to... Maybe I could try it out of the box, but I got a feeling I'd be routing wires inside of it again very, very shortly, because the big thing I want to do is no more side cooling. Side cooling doesn't even work with Tuxedo. It's just kind of a thing that makes me feel better. Because it's between two pieces of furniture, it's not very effective. It would be better if the case actually had proper support for front-back cooling, but unfortunately it doesn't. 80mm fans only in the front, and I don't want any whiny 80mm fans in these cases anymore. So there's lots of things that can get better with Monolith, so we'll be playing with that. I don't know if I'll be able to get the system up and running right away either. I also am going to consider buying a Windows key from inside Windows to activate it. That might be something I might want to try as well. But either way, we have, I removed some rubber grommets, the Venturi fans are out, and we will raid the system for, like, the optical drive and stuff tomorrow. For now, though, this is pretty much usable. I even thought about going back to the previous version of Windows to solve the freezing issues, but I'm not going to have much time to play any games tonight, so we'll just, if it freezes, it freezes, do some Legion outdoor events or something like that. Gonna be taking a second shower after all the running around I did today anyways, so yeah, the humidity's coming back, so it's time to, let the air conditioners do their thing again. But this is it. This is Monolith Eve, so to speak. Tuxedo's last hurrah. And tomorrow, we find out what's going where and things like that. Plus, I gotta see if the Hyper 212 Evo that will be doing the third-party cooling, because there's no stock cooler with the i7 6700K, but I have to, I gotta see how that's gonna work. I'm not gonna be too quick to get Monolith up and running the very first night. I want this to be done right, not done quickly. I run into enough problems with people that want things done fast, but not done right. I don't need to be doing any of that at home. So, one last night before Tuxedo is no longer the main system, and it's back to its tuxedo-y looking self. Thus, the story ends. This is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.